What's your take about being a specialist?
See, being a specialist is a good thing as long as you can be like really, really good at it. Like really, really good at it is not like 90%. Really, really good is like 99.9%, right? That you have figured out that one thing that somebody else cannot do, right? And you're really good at it. You're abstracting out. And again, if you look at very, very focused tariqe se, if you look at it in a very meaningful way, right? Even a specialist is a generalist in some ways. I'll give you an example. If you go deep into data science, right? Now, as you go deeper into data science, the branch essentially opens in a very horizontal way. You can do deep learning, you can do machine learning, you can do generative AI, right? You can do bunch of things, right? So over there also you have to play with multiple concepts, right? Even though the domain superficially might feel like it's just data science, right? So you have to abstract out some other concept and essentially apply it somewhere else. That's how LLMs came into the play. They realized that when they train a model essentially on a large amount of data, it was able to do something which it was not explicitly trained on. That's human brain behavior, right? So even if you want to become a generalist, sorry, a specialist, right, you will have to be meaningfully better than other people in that ecosystem. And if you're meaningfully better, that means in that very domain you can abstract out things which others can't. That is like the true essence of a generalist. So you might be a generalist at heart, but seemingly you are just doing one thing. So that's my view. Yeah.
I heard you once quoting Naval Ravikant about insects. Can you say this quote
Yes.
again?
Yes. Yes. So the quote is specialization is for insects, right? Why it essentially means that because we as humans, I think a lot of our systems, right? Because what we are essentially doing is building systems, right? Family as a system, focus as a system, right? Friends as a system, right? Career as a system, right? These are not systems which are like messy, mutually exclusive and completely exhaustive. They have strong overlap. I'll give you an example. If you don't know how to manage a team, if you don't know how to build relationships, you might be the best product manager on the planet. You'll not ship out good products. As simple as that, right? So that means the shipping of your product is not just dependent on the code that you write. It's also dependent on how that code is written, how well it is thought about, how meaningfully people take it to themselves that it's a meaningful thing that they're doing, right? So logically, you have to become better at human principles by design. So if you're becoming better at human principles, then you're becoming better at design principles, then you're becoming better at product principles. That is what really makes you a very wise person. Again, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. These are two different things. Wisdom basically means good judgment in some scenario, right? In any arbitrary scenario, right? You're going there, your manager tells you, oh, we thought this product would work, but we are shelving it off. What do? Your team worked for 30 days on this. They burnt their midnight oil. What do? Right? How do you talk? That is where prudence comes in. And there's again a very famous quote by Mark Twain where he says, an ounce of prudence is greater than a pound of knowledge. Right? And prudence basically means how do you talk? How do you respect yourself? And that's why I say evolution happens in all dimensions. It doesn't happen in one dimension that I become analytically better. That just means you have become skilled, but you have not evolved. If you really want to evolve, then you have to be better at looking at the world in a different way, right? And a lot of times it's not really about the solution. It's about how you look at the problem, how you look at the question, right? Like I'll give you a very good example. Let's assume, Mahmood, I would say the person who is taking my podcast is a dear friend of mine, right? That's also truth, right? And the other thing, the person who is taking a podcast is a LinkedIn acquaintance of mine. That's also true, right? But the first creates a sense of warmth, right? And you would probably go out of your way to do something meaningfully for me, and you build trust. Whereas I made the very same statements. Both of them are true. One has more impact, one has less. So logically, it means that even the emotional dimension, right, which really makes us humans, that is where also the evolution of a product manager or a builder has to happen. If that doesn't, that's why you see legendary companies like people like Andy Grove. They were not just good technology leaders, they were extremely good people leaders. They had extremely high situational awareness, right? That this is what I have to do, this is where I have to apologize, this is where I made a mistake, right? And that is what really, really transforms you as a good generalist. And when you become a good generalist, I think that is the place where you become wiser and wiser in life and you make better product choices. That's why you see like latent entrepreneurs who do second time, third time, they don't make the same mistakes that they did the first time. So yeah, makes sense.
You mentioned there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. How to gain more wisdom?
Yeah, makes sense. That's a very, very good question. See, there is, again, I quote a lot of quotes. So again, a quote for you. So there is this, again, very nice quote by Oscar Wilde. He says that education is a beautiful thing. It teaches you a lot of things, but it teaches you one more thing, that everything that's worth teaching can never be taught. Can be never be taught. So that's a very, very powerful thing that he says. So the best way to acquire wisdom, or that the allowance, is that stay move away from failure. Failure is just a milestone. You have to experience it. You have to try newer things in life. You learn something, take it without judgment, try it for a meaningful period of time. If it doesn't work, take the learnings, move out, right? The only way to become wise is to consistently interact more. That's why you see creators or builders, they build products, they ship something out, right? And then only they get feedback, good or most of the problems of most people are in their heads. They never go out. They're not real. They're just in their heads, right? And that is the way to become wise. So I will take a corollary to that question. People ask me, Shravan Bhaiya, how do you essentially figure out the purpose in your life? It's very easy. People say this, that figure out your purpose. You'll never. So I said, dude, the only way to figuring out your purpose is go through enough shit in life. Go through enough shit and you will figure it out. And how does that happen? I'll give you an example. So to look at my reality, I start off as somebody who wanted to be a mathematician, wrote papers in number theory, right? Life had so that I did metallurgy from IIT, nothing to do with mathematics, right? But I love to teach even then, right? Became a product manager, built products, became a content creator, created content. Eventually, after 12 years of my life, I became a teacher again. That's the funny part of life, right? So the only way to figure out if you really are purposeful, and that it is a very similar question to asking, how do you figure out the right idea for your startup? One fine day it will just pop up in your head? Not really, right? The beautiful way of doing it is, there are a lot of like fires in your life, or a lot of like these small sparks in your life. You pick up a spark, say there is a cutoff, I'll try it for 6 months, give my honest 6 months to it. If it's meaningful, I'll continue it. If it's not meaningful, I'll leave it, I'll move to another spark. And if you do that consistently, eventually there will be a spark which will convert into a fire. And that is when you will figure out that, oh, this is what I want to do. You never get to know what you want in life, but you always get to know what you don't want in life, right? And you remove, and then you reach out to your. So that is how you become wiser. At least that's what I've thought. And there are meaningful ways to do it. You follow good people. You try to see what they have done. Read biographies. Again, I don't recommend business books. Business books are shit, right? I genuinely recommend. For me, the best way to learn about the nuances of human growth is look at biographies. Read biographies. You'll see the gray part of, like, Leonardo da Vinci was one of the greatest person, but simultaneously he also was gay, right? People don't talk about it, but it is true. It is there. So it is the nuance of human life, right, that tells you really how people think. Yeah. I hope that answers the question. Yes.
Any biographies that you recommend me reading?
100%. I think you can read the Walter Isaacson one about Leonardo da Vinci. I think you should also read this one which is on Nikola Tesla. And the one not very famous one, I recommend that across. It is Beyond the Last Blue Mountain. It's on J.R.D. Tata, the only industrialist in India who got the Bharat Ratna. He was the uncle of Ratan Tata. So then the name of the book is Beyond the Last Blue Mountain. He became India's first private jet pilot also, right? And he was a French citizen who gave up his citizenship for the citizenship of India, right? So yeah, very, very beautiful. And there's another one on Howard Hughes. I don't know, that there was a very famous book on Howard Hughes. So Howard Hughes was also a very, very famous eccentric guy, right? So eccentricity is a very good function of what people end to do in life. Now that might be a controversial statement to make, but then again, that is true. Yeah.